As you come in, would you mute yourself, please? We're going to go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone. This is Shelby Tuck Horton. I am your Vice President of Education, and today we are all excited. I know so many people have told me that they're excited about this topic. So we're going to go ahead and get started, but let me first introduce our speaker. Abraham Busick is a dynamic entrepreneur, seasoned strategist, and co-founder of Grace Lane Company, a leading Pinterest management agency dedicated to empowering wedding professionals and entrepreneurs. After building and owning a successful financial services agency, he recognized the untapped potential of Pinterest as a powerful growth tool and co-founded Grace Lane Company to help businesses harness the platform's unique ability to drive traffic, build engaged audiences, and increase brand visibility. Through tailored strategies and actionable insights, he guides wedding professionals toward achieving measurable success. When he's not sharing his expertise on stage, you'll find him refining strategies for his clients, exploring innovative ways to use Pinterest, and inspiring others to dream big and take action. I want to remind you to put your questions in the chat, and we'll have time for Abraham to address them towards the end of his presentation. So I am now going to mute myself and turn it over to Abraham.
Thank you, Miss Shelby. I appreciate it. And thank you all for being on here. I want to say it's an honor for us to be able to on here with y'all. We had met, became aware of ABC when we were in Vegas. We met Nicole and Veronica, and we've been able to do some things here in North Carolina. But I am so honored that y'all would have us on here. And I want to make sure I respect y'all's time. I know you all are all busy. And I am just going to give everybody a kind of a fair warning here. I am a fast talker. As we go through this, I'm going to put stuff on the screen, and thankfully it's being recorded. But if at any point I am talking too fast, please put something in the chat, and Miss Nicole or Miss Shelby will definitely, please interrupt me and let me know. My dad is a Baptist preacher, and I inherited that from him as far as speaking fast. But I will try to make sure that y'all can understand me. Let me share my screen here. We're going to get going here quickly because I have a lot to share in a little bit of time, and I want to make sure you all walk away with value from this session. So let me get this going. And as we're getting started, if you all wouldn't mind putting in the chat, I'm just curious as to the experience we have on this call. So if y'all can just say how long you've been doing this for, and then if y'all utilize Pinterest or not for growing your business, so I can get a good feel. I'll be watching the chat as we go through, but today I want to talk about probably the most underutilized platform for wedding professionals, and especially wedding planners to grow their business. So everybody's familiar with Instagram, everybody's familiar with TikTok, everybody's familiar with Facebook, X, or what previously called Twitter, and all these other platforms. But everywhere we go, they use Pinterest for their brides that they're planning for, but they don't use Pinterest to grow their business. And I want to just start off by saying, if you are missing out on Pinterest, you're going to see some of the data here, but you are missing out on one of the top platforms that brides and couples go to way early on in their process to decide not just to get inspiration for for the various things for their wedding, but they're also now looking for vendors there. So I'm going to dive in. We're going to walk through here's kind of our session goals for today. We're going to go over why Pinterest first off. So I'm going to talk about Pinterest as a big platform, not just wedding related at first. But then I want to narrow it down and niche it down to why specifically the benefits of Pinterest for wedding planners. And then I want to spend most of my time on these final two parts of it with understanding the Pinterest user and the algorithm, and then how to master Pinterest SEO. So when you're putting content on Pinterest, you're actually showing up in front of the right people. But we're going to dive in here and we'll keep this going. So why wedding professionals need to be on Pinterest? I don't know if you all are aware of this or not. Everybody believes for some reason that Pinterest is dead or dying, and that is the furthest thing from the truth. Right now, Pinterest has 500 million monthly active users with 5 billion monthly text-based searches, billion with a B, text-based searches every month. And one of the big things about Pinterest that people aren't aware of is they have the longest content lifespan of any platform. I hesitate to use the word social media platform because Pinterest, we always try to encourage everybody, do not think of Pinterest like social media. We want you all to think of it more like a visual Google. But whereas you all are aware on Instagram and TikTok and some of the other platforms, it's a constant hamster wheel, right? Your content performs, and in a couple weeks, if you're lucky, it performs for a couple weeks, and then it kind of fizzles out. But on Pinterest, when a pin is done correctly with the right SEO and it takes off in the algorithm, that pin will still be active in the algorithm 1, 2, and 3 years from now, still driving people to your website. But the biggest thing about Pinterest that I always tell everybody to look at is it's what we call a high intent audience, meaning they're not on the platform for entertainment. They are on the platform specifically searching for a solution to a problem that they have. Whether that problem is trying to figure out wedding decor, find a wedding planner, plan out their wedding ceremony, they're looking for something very specific. And so what that means is they're ready to take action, right? They're looking, you can be the solution to their problem, get in front of them way earlier if you're utilizing Pinterest correctly. But why Pinterest specifically for the wedding professional or for wedding planners? 90% of couples on the latest Pinterest stat that we saw, 90% of couples are planning their wedding at some point on Pinterest. And I'm sure you all do this already. You all probably have your brides, excuse me, share their boards right when you start in that wedding planning process with them. Now, I just updated these stats a couple weeks ago because in the latest April report put out by Pinterest, those of you who were, if you were in North Carolina, you saw that we had said 3.8 3.8 billion wedding related searches last every year. That number almost doubled from 2024 to 2025. So in 2025, there was 7 billion wedding related searches on Pinterest, and it went from 13.4 billion wedding ideas saved to 16.7 billion wedding ideas saved by couples and brides. That is a lot of content, right? And a lot of potential clients. Obviously, that's worldwide, right? But even if you can harness just a small percentage of that in your area through utilizing Pinterest, that's a lot of potential new clients for y'all to grow your business, right? Why Pinterest as well for the wedding professional? But there's three things I always like to talk about is very important. When you're on Pinterest, it does three things for you. First and foremost, brand awareness and credibility. Think about the credibility that comes from when someone hears about your business. What if they didn't find it on Pinterest initially? I can promise you they're going to go to Pinterest to start to see what kind of weddings and out your work and stuff that you do in the past, long before they contact you. So what you want to do with that, kind of as a side note, make sure your Pinterest is linked to your website that they can get to your Pinterest from your website, because long before the client contacts you, they want to see some credibility, right? They want to see what have you done in the past. Are you able to plan weddings according to the vision that they have and their style? And so brand awareness and credibility. But the second thing that most people don't understand about Pinterest is Google digests everything that you put out on Pinterest. And so not only are you getting more traffic and improving credibility and brand awareness on the Pinterest side of things, when you do Pinterest consistently over a long period of time, Pinterest will start to help you improve your Google rankings as well. So we have a client in Nashville, Tennessee, and I always share this story in the wedding niche. They came to us about 2 years ago, maybe closer to 2.5 at this point, I guess. And they were just getting started. They had been around for a little. They're just getting started on Pinterest. One of the things and they're still one of our clients, but one of the things that they most love about the work that we do on Pinterest is their Google rankings. They've been able to measure the difference every 90 to 120 days and be able to tie that back to Pinterest. And so don't overlook that side of it as well. And then lastly, not that it's a small thing, but qualified lead generation as well. Like I had mentioned before, Pinterest is a very high intent audience. And so if they find you on Pinterest, it's because they search something very specific that involves your brand and your business. And so then when you get them over to your website and you kind of romance them a little bit on there, they become a qualified lead as well. But I always just tell everybody, no matter what niche I'm talking to about Pinterest, one of the things people ask me is, well, why should I do Pinterest instead of Instagram? Or why Pinterest instead of TikTok? And I always tell everybody, it's not an either or, okay? It's a both. Because your wedding business and your brand is way too important. You've worked too hard to allow one platform or one search engine or one lead source to dictate the success of your business. So I always tell everybody diversity of traffic sources, no matter what business you're in, equals income growth and stability. Your business and future income should not rely on just one platform, one search engine, or one lead source, right? If you want to find that growth and stability that we all do as entrepreneurs and business owners, you've got to learn how to use multiple streams of traffic. And Pinterest is one of those that, again, most people overlook. But when you start looking at the amount of wedding search volume that happens month over month and year over year, it can become a very big traffic source for most of our clients. I always tell everybody, if you do Pinterest correctly for a long period of time, Pinterest will be becoming your top 3 to 4 traffic drivers within 1 to 2 years to your website, which is pretty incredible when you're talking about another source of potential clients. So, a lot of data. I'm an analytics guy. Most people don't nerd out on data like I do. To me, data gives me confidence around what I do. So I gave you all the data that I like to do, but now I want to talk in really the keys to Pinterest success. Some things that you all can take away from this talk that you can start to implement right away so you can start to build your Pinterest presence. The first thing you have to do, we want to start with understanding the Pinterest user. And so, specifically for the wedding niche, you got to understand the Pinterest user are planners. And what I mean by that is they are searching stuff and planning their wedding boards, as you all are already aware, long before it's time for them to actually implement them with somebody, right? And so, basically, when we're talking about timelines, as far as putting stuff out, you got to be thinking 6 months, 8 months, almost a year in advance with the content that you're putting out. So, for example, in January of this year, we started putting out fall and winter content for our clients in the wedding industry for this coming fall and winter. Right now, we're putting out spring and summer content, hoping to catch people planning their spring and summer weddings for next year, right? You always got to be thinking ahead. And when Pinterest first started, the second thing I like about understanding the Pinterest user is Pinterest was mainly for inspiration when it first came out, right? But now something's changed since COVID happened. The world changed. And what's happening is brides and couples now are not only looking for inspiration, but they're also trying to find the local vendors that they want to use for their wedding. They don't want to just go to Google because you can buy your way to the top of Google. They want to find authenticity and unique wedding planners and wedding professionals, and they're finding those on Pinterest. And then lastly, understanding the Pinterest user. You all are aware of this in the wedding industry already. But the brides are influenced by aesthetic first, right? On Pinterest, they don't see anything that you're writing until they click on your image. So just make sure you're putting content out there. It's a good aesthetic picture that's eye-catching, and not just trying to throw a bunch of content out, and it's high quality on that. But the Pinterest algorithm, real quickly, and we're going to dive more into this, so don't worry, I'm going to touch on it now. We'll dive more onto this here towards the end, but understanding the Pinterest algorithm. So, first and foremost, and this is where most people get it wrong, SEO is the foundation of Pinterest. So, you can have the best wedding content, you can have the best pictures of weddings, you can be the best wedding planner in your area. But if you don't know how to do the right SEO for each pin that's going out, somebody who's a very low quality wedding planner or wedding professional but knows how to do that will beat you on Pinterest. So understand that while images and videos are important, equally as important for that is learning how to do SEO for each and every pin you put out there, so it performs in the algorithm. Secondly, there's a lot of misinformation out there around Pinterest. And the second point I always like to stress to everybody is quality over quantity. So back in the day when Pinterest first came out, and even really up until about 3 years ago, 4 years ago, the main Pinterest strategy was try to put out 5, 10, 15, 20 pins every single day. Well, that's not sustainable, right? One of two things is going to happen. Either you're going to burn out and you're going to give up on Pinterest doing that, or you're going to start to put out very low quality just to check the box, right? We don't want to do either one of those. So think quality over quantity. Everybody always asks, and we'll get into this a little bit later, but how many pins per day, how many pins per week? And quite honestly, the answer to that is whatever you can sustain with being consistent and still making sure you're putting out quality content. The third part of the Pinterest algorithm that's going to help you perform is consistency and platform contributions. And what I mean by that is Pinterest is very good at keeping spam off the platform. And one of the ways they do that is they watch for pinning, like your rhythm when it comes to pinning on Pinterest and posting things. And so a lot of times as entrepreneurs, and I get it, we've been in that same boat, is we're very busy, right? And we find ourselves with an hour or two free one day or one week. And so we put out a bunch of content all at once. And then we don't touch it again for 30 or 60 days. That will hurt you in the Pinterest algorithm more than it will help you because they're trying to cut down on spam. And so they're trying to watch, okay, does this person show up consistently and add value to the platform? So for example, when we're dealing with our clients, what that translates to for us is we set a very rigid pinning schedule, meaning so the platform starts to realize on this day at this time, this brand is going to show up and put something new and add value to the platform. Number four, fresh content is vital. A lot of times you'll see people trying to rehash the same piece of content and without actually adjusting anything. We'll go more into what that means, but understand that your old content is out there. Let's try to add some fresh things so you can stay relevant in the algorithm. And then lastly is give it time. I can promise you the first 6 months are going to feel like you're banging your head against the wall. The first year, you're going to way overestimate what you can do in the first year. But if you stick with it, by the end of the first year, a year and a half, and 2 years, you are going to way underestimate the impact that Pinterest traffic will have on your brand. All right, let's talk about this is the most important piece. So this is where I'm going to spend most of my time, mastering Pinterest SEO. So if y'all are taking notes, this is where I really would recommend either screenshotting, taking notes, getting the recording, because this is where your success on Pinterest is going to hinge at. Key Pinterest SEO principles, like I mentioned earlier, seasonal searches start very early and they start even earlier for people in the wedding niche. So always be thinking 6 months to a year ahead with your content and making sure that's getting put out there. And then one thing as well when it comes to SEO principles, don't box yourself into a certain set of keywords. Try to look at your image that you're going to put out or your video you're going to put out, the type of wedding it's going to have or the wedding decor or whatever it is you're putting that image out about and try to think of different avenues of keywords for that one piece of content. A lot of times, what we see is people are busy and they get stuck using the same keywords over and over and over and over and over and over and over. Well, keywords and SEO is what makes your content show up in Pinterest. So you want to make sure that every piece of content is not having the exact same keywords because you want the algorithm to learn how to distribute all these different ones so you can harness everybody related to your industry. And then lastly, long tail keywords are best. And what I simply mean by that, it's the difference of putting in, wedding decor or summer wedding decor for an outside wedding or an outdoor wedding ceremony as your keywords in your SEO, right? Try to think of a long phrase that somebody would search the whole phrase and get that worked in there to your SEO. Where do you find Pinterest keywords and the Pinterest phrases to use? So this is important because a lot of people try to use the Google SEO tools out there and they try to use Google SEO on Pinterest. And while it's similar, it is a little bit different in how things are searched. And so with three places you want to be getting your Pinterest keywords and your SEO from. Number one is in Pinterest Trends. So if you log into Pinterest, and you log into your account and you have a business account, on the top left hand side of your screen, you'll see like a little menu icon. Click on that. And if you scroll through that menu, you're going to see Pinterest Trends. Click on that. That's going to take you to another web page, and you'll see you can break down Pinterest trends by different categories. You can type in different things in there. It's going to show you the searches, the volume of searches, what they project that search will be over the next couple months as far as volume. That's a good place. So that's where we try to get our bigger overall seasonal trends from, right? So like when you're thinking about summer weddings and fall, spring, winter weddings, or you fill in the blank. You all are the professionals in that area. But that's where you're going to find your general categories and trends you want to start to focus on. So that's where you're going to start. Think of this kind of like a funnel, okay? So the next thing down as the funnel starts to get a little narrower, you're going to go to the Pinterest ad builder. And to do that, and you can just Google that, basically how to find that, and it'll walk you right through. But if you go to the Pinterest ad builder and you start to type in fall wedding flowers, or more specifically, the type of colors of the wedding you're trying to coordinate, or where the ceremony's at, it's going to pop you up all the different searches that include that word that you've typed in and the volume of those searches for that word or phrase in the last 30 days. So you'll see some rank as low as 2,000 for the last 30 days. and you'll see some that say 2 million plus in the last 30 days. You got to scroll through that list, find what's applicable for what you're trying to do, and grab a couple of those. What I want to tell everybody on that side is, though, if you are new to Pinterest and your account has not been on the platform very long, or if you're not very well established, when it comes to when you're looking at the words, which words to choose, and you look at the search volume, try to stay for words that are under a million searched in the last 30 days. It's going to go against what your brain wants you to do. But anything over a million, really, if we're working with clients, we say less than 500,000 if we can, because you're fighting for screen time then with people who are already well established in the algorithm. So the more you can niche down with some of those lower ones in the beginning, the more success you're going to find early on the platform. So we have the top of the funnel, which is Pinterest Trends, the Pinterest Ad Builder, and then the last place you should be grabbing some from is the Pinterest search bar. You can just go in the search bar and you can start typing in whatever you want around the wedding, whether it's colors, flowers, decor, ceremony ideas. You fill in the blank, and Pinterest is going to pop up between 5 and 8 different searches that are being searched that are actual phrases around people are searching around that. Include a couple of those in there as well. I'm going to show you some pin examples just to kind of show you how we lay it out. Let me touch on, and I'll come back to this in a second, but these are some kind of how you want to lay out your pins. You're going to have some that are going to have no words on them. You're just showcasing your work, right? And that's all. You're putting it out there. That's more for the aesthetic inspiration. Somebody searches something, you want to catch them early on in that process. They're going to save it to their board, and then hopefully they're going to go through more of your stuff. And then if they're in your area, they're going to reach through to your website. That's to catch the people on the inspiration side. On the actual like local side, so you're trying to niche down to an area that you actually serve, you're going to put out some more like the one you see over here that says Northern Utah Wedding Planner, because the algorithm is going to scan that image, and it's going to start looking for words on there as well and learning how to distribute. So this is one that we have done for a client. I took their name off there on that one, but so these both play a role, right? You want to be doing both, not just one or the other. But one is to catch more of the aesthetic inspiration saved to your board. One is to actually translate people into clicking over to your website and starting to romance them into becoming a lead. Just some other ideas here of what we've done. You can get creative. There's no one set template you need to follow as far as it comes to that. But I want to go back to this real quick as far as SEO. Everybody always asks, how much SEO should we put into each pin, right? So I always tell everybody, I'm going to tell you exactly what we do for clients, and you all can take it and use it on your own. If we're doing it on the image, so if we're putting words on an image, we're going to get 1 to 3 trending, relevant phrases around that image that we're actually putting on the image. So, for example, this one right here, that's the search term Utah wedding planner was being searched. And so we got that on here on the actual pin. So we got one on there, one long phrase. So in the actual pin, if you're putting words on the image, get 1 to 3. Next is going to be your pin title. Same thing. So you got your pin, when you're building it out on Pinterest, it's going to ask you to put a title on that pin for the description. Excuse me. Same thing with that. Try to get 1 to 3 in the actual title for each pin. And then where the meat of the algorithm is going to spend its time is on your description. Most people are going to tell you 1 to 3 relevant phrases or keywords fit into the actual paragraph description that you're writing. That 1 to 3 is more designed for people who are putting out 5, 10, 15, 20 pins a day. When we talk about quality over quantity, in that description, we're trying to get anywhere from 5 to 8 relevant SEO keywords and phrases into the actual Pinterest description. And the reason for that is it goes back to what I was trying to say earlier about thinking about different angles of words of what would apply to that image. We want the algorithm to pick up all different types of angles to push people to that one pin, right? That's where your massive amounts of traffic are going to start to come from over time, is when that one pin is not just being attacked by one angle in the algorithm, but the algorithm knows it can send people for 5 different, 6 different angles to that same pin. Does that make sense? If that makes sense, can you all like give me a yes? That's really the most important part. Like give me a nod, something about where you're putting your SEO, because if you don't have that right, you will struggle on the algorithm, especially. But I want to show you what happens on Pinterest over time so you all understand the value of it. I'm not turning this into a sales pitch at all. I just want you guys to see what's possible for you, whether you do it or somebody else does it as far as traffic goes. So this right here, as you can see, This right here, I don't remember exactly which client this was at this point. I think this was the wedding one in Nashville that I referenced earlier. But as you can see, in the last 90 days, this is over about 2 years now they've worked with, and they've done Pinterest themselves. But in 90 days, they were able to drive 2,210 people to their website. Not all of those are going to become clients, right? You don't want all those to become clients. You want the right ones to become your clients, right? Because if all those become your clients, you're going to have some serious headaches, as you all are already aware. But even if a small 1 to 5, whatever percentage you can think of that becomes clients, that is a big difference maker for your businesses, right? But the key to this doesn't happen overnight. And I want to stress this again, like this, you got to be thinking long-term results. You're playing the long-term game with Pinterest. So the first 6 months or a year, you're going to be like, this is pointless. Why am I wasting my time doing this? Why am I banging my head against the wall? But if you can tie your emotions to the activity of being consistent with that and just trust the process, I promise you, at a year and a half, you're going to look back and you're going to start to see the difference in the impact that Pinterest is making on your brand. This is a wedding planner out in Vegas, actually, one of our clients as well, just showing you again what's possible. So in the last 30 days, when we had made this for a different conference, when we were doing a different teaching, she had 1,100 people in 30 days come to her website directly from Pinterest and the pins that were being put out there. Same thing for this was a fairly new one. She was brand new when she got started, but after 60 days, she had gotten 42 people, and that'll continue to climb. I show you that one again to show you these are some big number differences, right? 2,200, 1,100, 42. But you can't get to 2,200 unless you're willing to spend the time and build even in that 42 outbound click stage, right? I want to stop here. That was a lot of information. I want to honor time, make sure we have time for plenty of questions. And there'll be a recording of this, but I'm going to turn this over either to Shelby or Nicole to kind of moderate the questions. I would love to spend 15, 20 minutes answering any questions that I can for y'all. And then I'll come back and have a couple more things to say.
Right now, there are no questions in the chat.
Okay. Does anybody?
So if you all like raise your hand or let me see.
And I'll turn the share off right now, so maybe
Tia
it's a little
said that's
easier.
because we're all listening. So no
No
one.
warning, right? People hate being put on the spot. I get it, but it's just kind of a good point to stop and answer questions because we went over so much. So,
So I don't see anything and no one's put anything in the chat.
okay.
Tia, I see your hand.
Yes. Hi. So I was trying to follow up. Hello, how are you? Thank you again for this information. It's been great so far. I am one of those by default. I've had Pinterest forever and really, rarely use it. But I was trying to follow what you were saying as you were talking, and I was trying to find the trends. So I'm on my Pinterest, and I do have the business part of Pinterest, but I don't know where to find. I didn't see where you said to
Okay.
find the trends.
Yeah. So I'm just going to pull up so I can walk you through it directly on my end. Can we pull up Pinterest on my um, computer here and I'll walk you through it exactly. But basically, so do you see that little, the business hub? It says up on the top left-hand corner where it says business hub.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if you click on that, it's going to bring up about five more different
Okay.
columns, correct? And you
Yes.
want to find the one that says analyze performance. Do you find that one?
Uh, I see create pins and start, turn your pins into ads. I see data analytics, track your performance.
I'll share. Give me
Um,
1 second and I'll share my screen here with you. I want to
I
log
don't
out
see
of
a
this
phone.
client's one. I'll just log into one that I can. That's way I don't share any information by accident here of theirs.
Okay.
But let me I'll kind of show you where it is here. All right. Let me share my screen again here. All right. Can you all see my screen again? You should be able to see the Pinterest browser that we have
Yes.
open. Okay. So when I click on the business hub up here, you're going to scroll all the way over to this column at the very bottom. You should see Pinterest trends.
Right.
And then if you click on that, that is going to bring you right to this tool, this page right here.
Uh-huh.
And then you'll just click on the search trends over here. and you can sort these by however you want. You can include keywords. You can go by interest. If you scroll down and go to wedding and click on that, there's so many things around trends. What I always encourage people to do, look at this short little list, but then start to either include keyword or search by keyword up here. So if I were for just put in fall wedding flowers, you'll start to see all these that pop up and the volume of searches that are starting to have. As you can see, we're already to the point to where fall is starting to tail off on Pinterest when you look at these graphs. But if you go in there and you start to search through them, so are you finding that on your page there?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yes. Thank you.
No problem. What other questions can I answer for everybody?
I don't see any other questions.
Okay. Well, let me share my screen here again. I want to just a couple things real quick at the end, ways for you guys to get a hold of us. And then if you have any more at the end of this, I'll be here to take them as well. But I always tell you, what do you do with this information? I'm not going to turn this into a sales pitch at all. But basically, I just want to get to this right here. Everything I just went over, if you all want to get, there's a little more in depth, a little more in detail, you can purchase our Pinterest blueprint. And what that is, it's a PDF to walk you through a little bit more in depth how to use Pinterest for your website, for your brand, and grow that. But then also, if we can do anything for you, our website is simply our name, Grace Lane Co., and then the LLC.com. You can go there, you can look over our website, you can contact us on there as well. Um, but again, we're never too busy to answer questions. We love answering questions. If you all will find our email, actually, I'll put my email in the chat here as well for you, so you all can have that. And then if you all have any more questions as we, yes, I see that. Can we have a one-on-one lesson? We do that as well to you as well. If you go over to our website, reach out to us, and we can go from there as well. But I don't want to turn this into a sales pitch by any means. But you can feel free to reach out to us for that. But any other questions at all? There's no such thing as a stupid question when it comes to Pinterest, I promise.
You must have been very thorough.
Or I lost them all with too much information. I get it though. So
I have
well,
a
I will let you
question.
all have it, Miss
Or
Shelby and
we
Miss.
have Rochelle.
Sorry. Yeah, I don't know how to do the hand raise thing. I apologize. I did have a question. I'm not really sure the right way to ask it, but is when creating your own content for it, versus just saving pins and sharing. Obviously, the saving pins and sharing things on your own custom boards is helpful, but it's not creating flow or traffic to your site. So my issue with Pinterest is that it's, as with any kind of social media or just any, it's like another full-time job of having content, fresh content, things like that. So I think my struggle is just knowing I see trends and everything there, but it's more about having that schedule and knowing what content is relevant to drive traffic toward websites or turn them into customers.
Sure.
I don't
So
even know if that ended up being a question. I'm sorry.
no, you brought up a lot of great points right there, and I'm glad you did. So I'm going to address a couple different things you just said there because there's a lot to unpack there.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's go back to the repinning other people's stuff. That's a great question. So I'm going to start off by saying this. We do not recommend on your business website resharing other businesses' stuff to your Pinterest profile. And the reason for that is you accidentally leak potential clients and customers away from you and they don't turn in then. So I always tell everybody this. If you walk into GMC, you will never see an advertisement in there for a Ford truck, right? Never, ever, 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 ever. Although Ford truck may have lots of great things about them, you'll never see one in GMC. Your Pinterest business should have just your stuff on it. Your Pinterest boards for your business that you're putting out there, your content on, do not save other people's stuff to that. The idea behind that back in the day was, okay, well, I'll share some of yours, you'll reciprocate, you'll share some of mine, we'll all stand around and be happy, Here's the problem. People don't do that anymore, right? And so the bigger problem though is when someone comes to your profile because they saw that pin, one of your pieces of content, they come to your profile and they look through, they're looking through your board. Now you accidentally led them down a rabbit hole because somebody else's content popped up and they clicked on that and switched over to their profile instead. So personal boards, yeah. I mean, like on your personal Pinterest, save ideas, save inspiration. But on the business side, we do not recommend saving other people's content on your business Pinterest. The second thing is the cadence and flow. So you just mentioned that there about trying to have enough content. I want to go back to talk about Pinterest trends. And I should have mentioned this earlier. Don't box yourself in to thinking that all your content has to be what you see on Pinterest trends. So how we utilize Pinterest trends is, for example, we have a wedding professional. They do Gothic type wedding stuff for wedding decor, rentals, flowers. And it's not very often we're going to find stuff for them on Pinterest trends, right? But if we think that all content has to be made based off what we see on Pinterest trends, then they're not going to get any content out there. Pinterest trends is just kind of a framework we tell clients to look through. And if you have content that matches that, or you have a wedding that matches that trend, go ahead and get it out there. But if you don't have any weddings that match or any content that matches what you're seeing on Pinterest trends, that's okay. Those are not the only searches that are taking place around weddings on the platform. They're just ones that are kind of taken off that maybe people haven't thought of as much. But you're still going to have the same trends or the same searches taking place around whatever type of wedding you're doing, even if it's not popping up on Pinterest trends. Does that make sense, Rochelle?
It does. I guess a follow-up question to that, thank you. A follow-up question to that would then be, is this going to like a blog post that we've written about those specific things? If it's not relevant to a blog post, are we just simply linking it back to our website? How do
Great
you
question.
close
Yeah.
that loop?
Yeah, so we have clients who do both. So I always tell everybody writing a blog post is not necessary to grow on Pinterest, but if you have the ability and the bandwidth to be able to do that, it will definitely help you grow a little faster on the platform. So, for example, we have that wedding planner in Vegas. She puts out some of her content in blog form, like she'll do a specific event or a specific wedding, and she'll write a little blog up about that, and then we'll link whatever we posted with those images from that event to that blog post. But then in addition to that, she has content that is not linked to a blog post. And so we just link that directly to her homepage or her portfolio page. We kind of mix those in. But the goal again is to realize that like we're trying to drive people from Pinterest to your brand. Even if you do it on a blog, that client or that customer is probably still going to scroll your website for a while before they ever submit a form to start talking with you. But so yeah, if you have a blog post and you have the bandwidth to do it, that will definitely help you. If you don't, just link it to your homepage or your portfolio page or whatever part of your website you want them to see as soon as they transition from Pinterest to your website. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, it does. I try to think of it in like a way when I use it for myself, I'm almost always looking up recipes.
Yeah,
So when I click on a Pinterest post, I'm going to the site looking for the recipe. But
sure.
it's hard because if you're just searching Pinterest for, like color schemes or like flat lays, like what if I don't have something specific to link it toward for the customer, I guess just our brand, our website is sufficient.
Correct. So
Okay.
basically, we want to talk in that description then about what they see in the image, and then about how you help coordinate what they're seeing in that image, and then if you're planning a wedding in whatever area you're in, looking for an experienced wedding planner in whatever area you're in, click through and schedule a consultation today to start planning your dream wedding. Something like that to end the
Yeah.
description. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I think honestly that helped me, that gave me more confidence because I think I've just been overthinking it. To
Yeah.
be totally honest with you, I feel like for the longest time I always had to have like a blog or something that goes way more in depth. And so I think that's kind of what's been putting me off from being consistent. So
Yeah.
I guess just
Absolutely.
hearing your blessing of kind of keep it simple is helpful. So I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah, keep it simple. And like I said, if you have the bandwidth to do a blog post here and there for some of your favorite weddings and your favorite events, it definitely that will help you grow a little faster on the platform. But if you don't have the bandwidth for it, it's better not to do it than put out a poor quality one and try to drive people to. So great questions though.
Thank you.
Uh,
Anyone else? McCole.
Okay. I'm embarrassed to say this. I was looking at my Pinterest and I realized I need to clean it up. And I don't know who else on this call has, but I was just looking and I don't have anything that I created. Everything is I've saved it. So I've been using Pinterest wrong this entire time.
so one thing, if I can just say something about that,
Mm-hmm.
because that's going to create questions that are good questions. The next question I imagine is going to be, should we go through and delete pins or delete
Right.
boards? Um, we always say no, don't do that. Instead, just start putting out your own content and building out your own boards. Let those things slowly fizzle out. And the reason for that is, again, with Pinterest being really good at keeping spam off the platform, if you go in and you start deleting a bunch of pins all at once, you're going to flag your account. Whoop, somebody hacked her. They're trying to take over. Let's hold it
Mm,
back. So what's done is done. What we recommend doing when you're talking about that is under your bio on your Pinterest, go ahead and start with rewriting that to include 4 to 8 relevant keywords about what you do that you're going to find on Pinterest in the SEO. And then create either some new boards or at least change some of your board titles and write a board bio for each of those boards. Same thing like you would for your Pinterest bio, write a little 3, 4 sentence paragraph with 4 to 8 relevant keywords or phrases from the Pinterest SEO we talked about earlier into those and then just start making sure going forward, you're only putting out your stuff. Yeah, correct. And something else
okay.
people can do that they're not usually aware of this. So if you have a bunch of boards that's only other people's content, you can actually go in and click on the board and hit hide board. So nobody except you can see that board on your
Mm.
profile. So
I'm glad I asked because that was going to be the next thing I was going to start doing was start
yeah.
archiving and deleting boards. So I'm glad I asked.
Yeah, just hide them and then just focus going forward on putting out your own content and let time just kind of take care of itself on those as you're moving
Okay.
forward.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't see anything else. So, Abraham, what do you think if somebody hasn't been using Pinterest for a while, what do you think is the best way for them to ease their way back into it?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I was going to talk about that here real quick before we got off. Honestly, the thing is just finding a schedule that you can stick to consistently. But I do want to kind of preface that with saying this. Something is better than nothing as far as how many pins per week. But I will tell you, anything less than 5 pins per week, your rate of growth slows dramatically down as far as growing when you're brand new. So, what I would do if I was a brand new person starting on Pinterest, I would just, and to do 5 pins a week, you can notch time out for that. And then you can go into Pinterest, you can actually schedule those so they go out. You can do them all at one time, but then schedule them so they go out at different days. But I would just focus on looking at your favorite weddings, picking out your favorite pictures from your favorite weddings, and just try to get 5 pins out every single week. A good posting schedule. So for our clients, when we're doing 5 pins a week, we do Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and they go out at noon. The time that you publish them on Pinterest is not as important as it is on other platforms like Instagram and TikTok because it is an SEO platform. If you publish that at noon, it's still not really, for the most part, not going to take off for 2, 3, 4 weeks, anyways, as the algorithm starts to digest it. But for the sake of having a schedule, so you can schedule it out and make sure you stick to it, try to put something out every Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and start with that. And then if you're finding that you're able to do that well and you have more content you want to get out, you can put out however many pins you want per week. Just make sure you stay consistent and can sustain it with good quality work. So,
Thank you.
yeah. And then I would also recommend, like I just told Nicole, write a good bio for yourself that has Pinterest SEO in that under your on your profile. And then for each board you create, write a board bio that tells the algorithm how to distribute that board as a whole as well.
Okay, last chance for questions. Hands up or in the chat. I think somebody wants to see the QR code again.
Okay, I can put that back up here 1 second. And I'll tell everybody this again. If you're one that doesn't like to ask questions in public, I put my email in the chat. You're never going to bother me by shooting me an email as well. We love to answer questions if you have them. So send us an email. We're more than happy to answer any questions also. And I promise you, there's no such thing as a stupid question. I can promise you that. So,
Last chance. We're going to let Abraham get back to working with his clients.
I'll go
Okay.
ahead and take this down again then as well. If I can just say again real quick, thank you all so much. I know you all took time out of your busy schedules to be on here. I hope you got value from it. Miss Nicole, Miss Shelby, thank you so much for thinking of us. It's been a pleasure to get to know y'all. You all are part of a great group. I'm sure you already know that. And anything we can do for any of y'all, just let us know, okay?
We thank you and appreciate your sharing your wise words with us. We really do.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
Absolutely.
Nicole, for introducing Abraham to us.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Nicole. That's great. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to say goodbye to everybody. Thank you for attending, and I'll see you on the next Wedding Wednesday webinar on July 15th.
Thank you.
Goodbye, all.